Hi, my name's Riley McConnell, and today I will be presenting on the 3 Mile Island disaster in Middletown, Pennsylvania on March 28, 1979. I will be discussing the purpose objectives of this presentation. First, I would like to provide some background to the 3 Mile Island accident, identify sources of radiation, determine health implications, both environmental and economical, and discuss implications of this event in comparison to others. In this presentation, I will be discussing the map of the 3 Mile Island, background information, some sources of radiation exposure, health implications to the community, and a comparison of other major disasters. Here is a map of 3 Mile Island, located on the Susquehanna River, just south of Harrisburg. The area surrounding 3 Mile Island was monitored up until 1997 and showed no health implications to the public. Here's a timeline of the events that took place at 3 Mile Island. The construction of Unit 1 of the nuclear power plant was conducted in 1968, and it was in use in 1974. Unit 2 went online in 1978, and a year later, there was a mechanical failure. In 1993, there was a final processing of the accident water. In 2019, 40 years after the operation of Unit 1 was finally shut down. Here's a diagram of Unit 2 reactor at 3 Mile Island. On March 28th at 4 a.m., Unit 2 was operating at about 100% power when it automatically shut down after a pump that provided cooling water stopped operating. Pressure and temperature increased in the reactor, causing a pressure relief valve to open, located at the top left. The valve opened as designed, and water and steam began flowing out of the reactor to a tank in the basement of the reactor building. As pressure returned to normal, the valve should have closed, but unknown to the operators, the valve stuck open. It remained open for more than 2 hours, allowing water that covered and cooled the fuel core to escape from the reactor system. This caused the fuel to begin to overheat. Instrumentation in the control room indicated to the operators that the relief valve was closed and that too much water was being injected into the reactor vessel. Consequently, operators did not replace the water that was lost because of the open relief valve. As pressure began to drop, more and more coolant turned to steam, causing excessive vibration in the main coolant pumps. The vibration prompted operators who did not realize the reactor was experiencing a loss of coolant to shut down the pipes. The loss of pressure and water caused a large steam bubble to form at the top of the reactor vessel, further preventing the flow of cooling water through the core. Without coolant, core temperatures rise above the melting point of the fuel. At 6 a.m., operators closed a block valve between the relief valve and the pressurizer, stopping the loss of coolant water through relief valve. Superheated steam and gases blocked flow of water through core cooling system. Here is a bar graph showing sources of radiation versus radiation dosage in milliram. Our average natural radiation exposure per year is around 300 milliram. A single C chest X-ray is around 6 milliram. And the radiation exposure from 3 Mile Island was only 1 milliram. Here's a pie graph representing radiation exposure in the U.S. All of us are exposed to radiation every day from natural sources such as minerals in the ground and man-made sources such as medical X-rays. The average dose per person in the U.S. is around 300 milliram. The pie chart below shows the sources of these average doses. Here is a line graph representing the percent of breast cancer due to proximity of 3 Mile Island between the years of 1975 and 1985. As you can see, the bottom line represents pre-accident, and above that is the post-accident. There seems to be a slight increase in breast cancer diagnosis over the years. However, some argue that there was no significant increase in overall deaths from cancer because of this incident. Here's a comparison of the major nuclear disasters in history. To name a few, there was one in the United Kingdom in 1957, which uranium fuel overheated and caused a fire, and the uranium began to oxidize and cause radioactivity to release. The one in Middletown, Pennsylvania. In 1986, Chernobyl, there was an explosion at a nuclear power plant that caused large amounts of radiation in the atmosphere. And finally, Fukushima, Japan, and because of an earthquake, a nuclear power plant had power loss and caused cooling systems to fail, and it rose the heat and led to the release of radiation. And on the far right side, you can see the cost of cleanup. And as you can see, over the years, it has increased. The cleanup bill has increased significantly over the years. To summarize, in March 1979, the 3 Mile Island Nuclear Generating Station in Pennsylvania witnessed the worst nuclear accident in American history. In Unit 2 of the plant, a valve surrounding a reactor core failed to close, leaking thousands of liters of contaminated coolant into the surrounding building and allowing the core's temperature to rise. A series of technical complications that exacerbated the issue, with operators shutting off the reactor's emergency cooling system in the confusion. The pressure and temperature of the core reached dangerously high levels nearing meltdown. Low levels of radiation leaked from the plant into the atmosphere. It is important to observe how these mistakes were made and how they could be avoided in the future. New safety measures were put into place after this incident occurred.